Members, the question is that the motion be agreed to.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, the Labor Party is pleased to support this bill, basically because it makes good common sense. We have an ultra-fast broadband rollout that needs to access private property. There is obviously some complications that occur when that is attempted in many cases, and what this bill is aimed to do is to try and iron out some of those complications by which there could be delays in getting the ultra-fast broadband from the street, if you like, into the homes. Right at the moment, what happens is that the network operators have the consent of the legal owners of the property through which they run the fibre connection, but this can be complicated if the end user is not the sole owner of the property. For example, if you've got a unit title, some sort of company share arrangement, perhaps a Maori freehold land, maybe there's an easement. There's a whole range of different complications which can create problems in which to get the connection through to the owner who wants the ultra-fast broadband. As a result of that, this legislation breaks effectively the installations into two different categories. Category 1 installations are those installations which have no lasting impact on property. So they might disturb the grass or soft surfaces or something like that, perhaps a narrow trench through a garden or whatever, but no other real physical problems other than that. That's what they call Category 1. And for those installations, a statutory right will be provided for the network operator to get on and install after providing 5 days' notice. So the notice time is pretty minimal. People get 5 days' notice in terms of the fact that this is going to go through the area, and that is estimated to cover around about 37% of the connections that are made with the UFB rollout. Category 2 installations are a little more complicated, and they have more of a lasting impact on property, such as drilling a cable underground, leaving potholes, having to cut through, say, concrete, or access a metre every 10 metres or so. And then for these installations, neighbours will be provided with basically a high-level design of what's going to happen, and they get 15 days to object on a limited number of grounds. And if they don't object, then they are deemed to have consented. So it effectively eliminates a lot of the time delays and problems that are being created at the moment. As the Minister said, a number of cases right now have been waiting over 50 days to be connected because of disputes between different parties that the ultra-fast broadband has to go through. It's estimated that Category 2, that more difficult installation, is going to be about 51% of all installations. And the balance, the 12% of that 37% in Category 1 and 51% in Category 2, are more invasive than even those two, and will be subject to the existing requirement where all parties have to provide their consent. So, in effect, you will have to, it'll mean some either bigger earthworks or bigger concrete works or whatever. There is some complications, obviously, as well around apartment blocks where there is multi-dwellings owners. And then the law will clarify this as well, and so that once a single unit owner has placed an order for UFB, the network operator will have an automatic right to the common areas of that property to best determine the right way or the most appropriate way to install UFB. So it means that an apartment owner who wants UFB will not be stymied by a whole lot of other people in that apartment block from getting UFB. Now, what this is going to do, we hope, and we're looking forward to hearing what's going to happen in the Select Committee. I'm sure there'll be submissions on this, and I'm sure there'll be other issues that perhaps we haven't been able to consider or think about in the course of this first reading, but nevertheless they can come forward to the Select Committee, we can hear those and we can tweak and adjust hopefully, if the Honourable Amy Adams will subject us to be able to do that in the interest of good natural justice, in order that we will be able to get the best bill and the best law that will be able to be rolled out. So, sir, as I say, the Labor Party is pleased to support this. We notice that ultra-fast broadband is going out at a reasonable rate. There's about 24,000 requests for UFB in April and 16,000 connections. You do the maths on that, and somehow along the line 8,000 people requested it but didn't get it. So what I would assume that means that we were running a little behind what people would want, but nevertheless it's being rolled out at a reasonable pace. And I have to say, I was one of those people in April that made that request and actually got the UFB connected. So who am I to complain? However, I do note that with the excitement around UFB rollout, we should remember that there are a number of people in our society who are not even connected to the internet, let alone being able to connect to UFB. 68%, for example, Pena Henare was just telling me that 68% of Maori, for example, don't have access to the internet. That's a lot of people, a lot of Maori people who are not connected to the internet, compared to 86% of the remainder of the average across New Zealand. And the biggest non-connections are in the areas that are where there is the greatest level of deprivation, which is perhaps in North and Gisborne. Perhaps some of the rural areas where it's more difficult, but nevertheless, it puts these people at an extraordinary disadvantage. At a time when we're rolling out various computing devices, iPads, etc., in schools, the fact that these kids in those areas and those groups that are unable to go home and do their homework and using the internet, as so many people across New Zealand are so accustomed to do now, that puts them at a distinct disadvantage. It really does show up what people are calling the digital divide. And likewise in Auckland, 70% of Maori in Auckland have access to the internet, but that means 30% don't. That's a very significant number of people. Not only that, but if you look at Maori in terms of their connections, if you like, to the industry, again, Mr. Henare was telling me that only 1% of Maori are seeking study in the information and technology area. And I think that's a real shame, because obviously this is an area which is growing. So, sir, while we can get very excited about the fact that we're having ultra-fast broadband rolled out at the pace that the Minister has laid out, we do need to think very, very seriously about those people who are being missed. Those people who don't have the access, those people who are likely to fall even further behind as a result of not being able to be connected to something that we've come to see almost as a right, as in water or electricity or whatever. And we need to make sure that those people are connected, and we have some means of being able to roll that out in a much more universal way. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.